The university is operating within the four walls, and rather the people within the four walls feel that the ones who are outside are lesser mortals. We are the ones who know everything, and there is no need to connect with them. So the first center which I made in my university was Center for Society, University, Interface and Research. So we used to interface with the society, we used to connect with the society, and I also feel that when the first university in the world was made, which was in India, Takshila, the purpose was that because of the university, the society around the university will also develop. But slowly, universities have forgotten that mandate, and they are operating in a standalone manner as an ivory tower. So it is very important that the universities should connect with the society. So I'll just give you some examples the way we did it, and which does not consume time and which can be done very easily. So in this center, we started some courses like microfinancing, integrated energy resource management, folk medicine. So through these courses, they were audit courses. They were done 50% in the classroom and 50% in the community. So our students used to go to the community, say for example microfinancing course, and they created self-help groups of the women. They told them how to take micro credits, how to make groups, how to even open an ATM card, ATM card, how to use an ATM card, how to open a bank account. So slowly, those women became so self-reliant that somebody opened a bangle shop, somebody opened a grocery shop, somebody purchased a buffalo and started earning. So these small methods also worked so much. Similarly, folk medicine. We had a Ayurvedic college within the university, but of course, normally the university people feel that we are the most knowledgeable, community doesn't know anything. But when they used to go to the community and talk to the rural women and ask them, let's say for stomach ache, what do you use? For cattle, if some symptoms are there, what do you use? So they knew so many things through that traditional knowledge system which they had, and they started standardizing it and documenting it. So it was such a great knowledge. So there are many ways where we can contribute. We made one, I don't know whether you use it here or not, upla, upla, cow dung cake, which is used as a sort of a fuel for the rural household. But making that upla is a very messy thing, because you soil your hands, and people say, girls used to say, because it was a women university, that we won't marry a family where I have to make those uplas. So what we did was, we made a upla making machine. So in that you put cow dung and husk and all, and out came the uplas like a soap cake. So community was so happy that how is it that university is thinking about us? So without touching the cow dung, without soiling the hands, you are able to make instant uplas. So that's small things. Or then what we also tell the universities is that suppose you are doing a chemistry experiment, you do a lot of salt analysis. So in addition to salt analysis, let the students do the salt analysis. Can you also do the soil analysis and tell the farmers that what deficiency is there in the soil? Can you do the water analysis and tell, which hand pump water is good for drinking, which is not? So these are very, any student, the history student can write the history of the villages, the geography student can do the geomapping. So every student can do something for the village, and then you must be knowing about a concept called Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. The Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is a scheme of Government of India which is run by IIT Delhi, in which every university adopts villages and develops technology for them or customizes technology for them. So that is again a very good concept where you get a lot of funding also, but you have that satisfaction that I am doing something for the community. So it's not difficult, it's not that you need a lot of time for that. The intent should be there. If you have the intention, you will find time also. You will have such courses which can be run on 50-50 basis. And if you want to do, and then there can be a lot of community-based research. You can even call community practitioner to come and give lecture in your class. So that can also be done. So there are multiple ways of engaging with the community which do not require money. It does require time, but that time can be taken on. But that intent should be there, that I want to relate with the community.
I am Dr. Budhin Gogoi. I am working here in a center, development center, international center for academic cultural exchange, as you are talking very nicely. So that is a question, madam. So for the Indian, now this new national education policy is concerned, it is a very ideal one. We have gone through it, and also you have very nicely focused on it. But how to make it happen? There is a very important point. So my point is, madam, if we go see back 64, 66, then 1986, because all education policy was or could not be implemented properly due to fund crisis. And it is also very clearly written that 6% GDP must be expended for the implementation of this one. So, madam, could you please focus to implement this new education policy, how the fund could be managed?
See, it is true that since Kothari Commission, which was in 64, we have been talking of spending 6% of GDP on education, not higher education, education, out of which maybe 20% can go to higher education. So around 1 to 2% for higher education. But the government has not been able to do so. But I'm glad that now in India we have many private universities. So and most of the private universities, at least they claim that they are running not for profit. So we can assume that they are philanthropic contribution to the education system. So although the government funding, it is increasing, but not to that extent that it can become 6% of GDP. But the contribution of private players is coming very handy. So for example, in your university, if you want to implement, one is that you can have funds from your own because you are a non-financed university by the government. But then there are many international bodies who are doing a lot of funding, a lot of philanthropic funding. The only problem is that our teachers, our faculty members, they don't know how to write good research projects for getting the international funding. So that is again something which our university should try, because at many forums I have spoken that the big funding agencies, they are also giving funding to the best institutions, whether it is IITs or Harvard or Yale or Cambridge or Oxford. They don't need funding, they are already very rich. So why don't they give funding to the people who are really requiring it? But then the answer comes that they don't write good proposals. So what we should also teach in our, again this is an example I will take from my university, because in that university I went from UGC. So UGC I had a cloud. So I told my teachers that you write research projects and I'll help you in getting the research projects. So 2, 3 months, 6 months, I kept on telling them, nobody came out with a project. So one day I was very angry. I said, why don't you write a project? I'm telling you I'll get it. This is something very big favor you will be getting. Then they very silently confessed they don't know how to write a project. So how to write a project? So then I understood. Then I arranged special classes for how to write a project. And then they wrote the projects and then they were funded also. So in most of the universities, our teachers do not even know how, it's not their mistake, they have never been trained for that. So we have to train our teachers on how to write a good project. And many agencies, even in India, are funding. DBT is funding, DST is funding. Many foreign agencies, there are so many who are funding the universities. They are eager to fund the university, especially for example, your university, which is in a remote area. They will be very eager to fund, but they need good proposals with good outcomes, means where it is listed that what will be the outcome of that project. So if you are able to train your faculty, or you can take some external help, there are now many universities I have seen, they hire foreign faculty for writing a project. I mean, that is of course not a good thing, but in the process you can get trained on how to write good projects. So we cannot be depending upon the government we cannot be cribbing government is not spending, so we will not do anything. So we have to think of the alternatives. Government has their own problem. So we have to think of alternatives on how to get the funding for the university. In foreign countries, most of the teachers have to earn their salary. Earn their salary means they have to bring equal amount of funding for the university. The Vice Chancellor's biggest job is to get funding from philanthropic resources. But in our country, like I including, we Vice Chancellors are very happy because we don't have to work for getting the funding. Either the government gives or the management gives, or it comes from the fee. We don't exert on getting philanthropic funding from external resources. So that is something we should work on.
Ma'am, I'm Dr. Papya Datta from the Department of Rural Development. Ma'am, it's just an suggestion. I would be asking for you, while implementing the strategy of CCEC, compulsory this community course, ma'am, will be your suggestion that it should be department based or school wise? what can be the best way of implementing in a so that we can get the best out of it, because we have to reach to the community.
So there can be 2-3 ways. One, I was saying that there can be, in general, some courses which I was telling microfinancing, depending upon what faculties you have. These are the sort of interdisciplinary courses which can be offered by any student of the university. So there can be some interdisciplinary courses. And second thing is that you can tweak the existing curriculum of the courses. Like when I was giving you the example of soil analysis, water analysis, history of the villages, or even surveys of the villages. So the existing curriculum of the courses can be tweaked in such a manner that the element of community development comes into it. So that can, I mean, if you apply a little bit of brain and see that how our students can be useful for the community, how they can interact with the community. For example, in my university, I opened a demonstration center for vertical farming. So that was for the farmers, because Haryana government had a tie-up with the Israel government. In 90% of the subsidy was being given, in which the farmers used to make greenhouses and then do vertical farming. So the